5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, class, today we're going to learn about Mussolini, fascism, and the rise of totalitarianism in Italy. Mr. Crosby, you know who this man is here on the board?
Mussolini?
Yes. He was also known as El Duce, which is Italian for the leader. So, moving on here. Alright, today our objectives are explain the effects that World War I had on Italy and its citizens, identify the origins of fascism, and describe the characteristics of a fascist state. We also need to understand that Italy was one of the two major fascist states in Europe prior to World War II. We also are going to demonstrate how Mussolini came to power. Alright, so now we're going to cover the effects of World War I on Italy. We'll start with the first one here. Alright. By the end of the war, in 1918, 600,000 Italians were dead. Now y'all got to realize, that is a huge number right there, especially for one country. Bring it down now. Alright. Number 2, the war cost more than the government had to spend, that has spent in previous 50 years. A country just can't do that. You can't just have a war and spend more than 50 years than you do in 4. Spend more than, it just doesn't make sense economically. Then we're going to, the country was hit by a very high inflation and unemployment was high. This is naturally going to happen, especially if you're on the losing side of a war. It just kind of, your country's wrecked, it happens. Look at, Germany was the same way after World War I. Alright. And not happy with the results of Paris, peace treaty. Italy didn't get much of anything at all, really, which, of course, wouldn't make people happy. Move to the next one. Okay, first off, what is fascism? What do you think fascism is, Mr. Crosby?
Total control over a country by a single person.
Total control of a country by a single person. Well, first off, the first 2 things, there's no unifying set of beliefs, really. It can mean different things in different countries. So you could be right, but to somebody else you could be wrong, to other countries. Let's go right here. Some of the basic features are, 1, it's rooted in extreme nationalism, which nationalism isn't a bad thing, but it can become a problem, especially if it's to the extreme part right here. That's a key word right there. Number 2, anti-democratic, rejecting the Enlightenment faith of reason. Number 3, belief in social Darwinism, which is survival of the fittest, as y'all probably know. Okay, fascism is, once again, no single unifying beliefs. Authoritarian government that is not communist, and ruled in extreme nationalism. Just kind of overview of the last slide. Glorified action, violence, discipline, and blind faith to the state, which makes usually pretty good soldiers. Just didn't work out for them. And they're also, like I said, anti-democratic, which also leads to corruption and survival of the fittest with social Darwinism. Alright, fascism equals power and authority. Once again, Mr. Crosby, who's that man right there?
Mussolini?
Yes, sir. Fascist is a bundle of sticks wrapped around an axe and a symbol of power in ancient Rome, which is where they get the name fascism from, which is a symbol adopted by Mussolini. Okay, with all the choices, how come the fascists gained control in Italy and not socialists? Why do you think, Mr. Crosby?
Because Mussolini had a lot of power.
Mussolini had a lot of power. One reason is not as large of a peasant population as Soviet Union. So they didn't have a big population, so they didn't have a big pool. Next two things. Italy was more industrialized and capitalistic with the capitalistic ventures, and they built up of extreme nationalism based on prior history. And government split into feuding factions. Okay, Benito Mussolini, which was Mussolini's first name, Benito, makes his move. It's a socialist and is used from a common family. Later rejects socialism for extreme nationalism. Mussolini, extreme nationalist, he's pledged to turn the Mediterranean back into the Italian lake, which is, he's referring to Rome, the Roman Empire, when he says that. All right, the political spectrum, propaganda model. The spectrum recognizes all over the world. You have, it's actually this may play in a role today, but not as much as it would in World War II or World War I. You have the left side of the spectrum and the right side of the spectrum. You have the left, which is socialists, labor unions, and then, or liberals, and then you have conservatives and fascists. There's always been a left, there's always been a right. It's just always how people, the different two things of thought, and then you can split it up into different groups. Like I said, it just depends on what your beliefs are in politics. Features of the totalitarian states in the Soviet Union, Italy, and Germany. How Mussolini gained control. How did he do it? Single-party dictatorship. It's one way. I'll just pull this all the way down. State control of the economy, police spies, and state terrorism, or the black shirts as they called themselves. There's also brown shirts that came about at the time, that I do believe that was in a different country. And appointed by King Emmanuel II, asked to form a government, appointed prime minister. So Mussolini was appointed prime minister. That's how he initially gained power. 5, strict censorship and government control of media. Number 6, the use of schools and media to brainwash and motivate citizens. This word right here, propaganda. Who knows what it means? Mr. Crosby.
Uses of images to make people think differently, or think the same way as the government does.
That is correct. Do you think this is the first time propaganda has been used?
No.
No? You're right. Propaganda has been used throughout history. You always try to make the other side look worse than you, even if you are the worst out of the two. America's used it, Italy used it, Germany used it. We still use it today, except for now we use it for more of a commercial aspect of anything. Yeah,
Like the Coca-Cola episode, the commercials and stuff like that.
stuff like that, yep. Alright, number 7, unquestioning obedience to single ruler. And then you have number 8, the corporate state controlled all but the clergy. And corporate state increased production, but salaries fell behind. Number 14, compare communism and socialism. Differences to fascism. One, fascism hates communists and socialists. That's a huge difference, right? Number 2, fascism pursues nationalist goals. So you just got to remember, fascism, nationalism, they kind of go hand in hand. Number 3, allies in business need capitalism, so they need capitalism. And then your similarities. They take hold in hard times, promoting change. So it's kind of it seems like the right idea to get out of a hard situation is how these things come to be. Number 2, impose totalitarian governments to cause social revolution. And number 3, a party elite claim to rule in national interests. They always have the best interests out for their country. Do a quick review here. Actually, we're gonna take this for an assignment. We're gonna go home tonight, take it for an assignment. If you will write down these 4 questions, get out a piece of paper, please. Number 1, name one effect of World War I on Italy. Number 2, what are the origins of fascism? Number 3, what can be found in a fascist state? And number 4, what do you think is the other fascist state in Europe prior to World War II, and why do you think that? These will be due tomorrow at the beginning of class. Thank you and have a good day.